Week 3 in the books in the CFL. Obviously, a lot of the attention this week on the Stanley Cup final. But the Saskatchewan Roughriders coming up with a pretty easy win in their home opener against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And this was a pretty complete effort from Saskatchewan. While Trevor Harris was in there, the offense looked on point. You got the run game going a little bit. Ouellette seemed banged up. And I was surprised at the amount that they used him in this game, even while he was obviously limping. But he looked like he was getting going, which means the offensive line was getting going. The receiving core looked great again. And it was everyone coming up with big plays. And then defensively, they were dominant. They put... They still didn't put a ton of pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell, but the secondary at least didn't create a whole lot of throwing lanes for him. And they did a really good job of getting hands on passes and just creating a little bit of havoc. Saskatchewan does get the scare with Trevor Harris going down with an injury. Sounds like he'll be all right. I wonder if that game was closer, if Harris would have just gone back into it anyway. But this is one where the bye comes at a really good time for Saskatchewan. With Harris banged up, with Ouellette banged up, I do think that... I do think that this is a team that is going to benefit greatly from what happens here with the with this bye week. On the Hamilton side, I still think that there is a good football team here. And again, I think Bo Levi Mitchell is turning... or has turned a corner back to what he was in Calgary as a starter. I don't think he's going to win MOP or anything like that, but he looks good, but he looked shook in this game. After he fumbles that football, he really tried to force it, and it just seemed like it was bad choices all over the place, and he's caught between trying to force it to White, trying to force it to push the ball down the field, and it just took him completely out of this game. This was one where they needed some deep cleansing breaths and be able to kind of calm down, settle into this game, and really get this offense rolling. They didn't really have that this week, and I do think I do think that they will be able to bounce back, but this was a bit of a concerning one because of just how off everything looked once the wheels started to fall off. Out in Toronto, this offense looks electric. Dukes, it looks like the real deal. He was given a ton of time, but he looked calm, he looked composed. Like you look at Patterson for Saskatchewan, obviously different points. Like Dukes has been prepping to be the starter for a while now. Patterson got thrown in there in the middle of the game, but Patterson looked shook. He looked shaken. He looked like panicked, like, okay, where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do? What do I do? There's none of that in Dukes' game. He looks calm. He is obviously athletic enough and quick enough that he can he can run if he needs to, but he's not looking to do that. And you look at, like, they have three running backs that you trust. McMahon looked really good. Adebayo, looked really good out of the backfield as well. And then Kadeem Carey looks every bit like the guy who led this league in rushing a couple of years ago. And all of their receivers are making plays downfield. Like, they just have a tall, lanky, high catch radius, really athletic group that is out there that can really push the ball down the field. So credit to them for that. The defense isn't really impressive, though. That is a concern, that they weren't really able to get a whole lot going. They do have some guys who can put pressure on the quarterback, but I have been surprised through the first couple of weeks how easy it is to score points on this team. And for Edmonton, like, the offense looked good. The defense couldn't stop anything. And if Toronto could get one or two stops, like, it felt like they could have really locked this game down, but they just could not get anything stopped against McLeod Bethel Thompson. And then in one of the bigger games of the week on Friday night, it was Winnipeg. And they didn't get the win, but they finally got going a little bit. Caleros looked better. It started working towards the end. The way they were able to efficiently move the football down the field in the short passing game was, I think, a really, really good sign. And, like, Oliveira is going to continue to get better. And continue to work his way back into this. Lawler is going to get his way back into the offense. Now, it comes at a time where they're losing Schoen, and it sounds like for a while that was such an important part of that offense. But I wonder if that now forces, like, you still have a Wolotarski who can kind of play in that role, not to just sub in white guy for white guy. But I think they need to get a little bit more going with Nick Dembski, and I'm not saying any of this is Dembski's fault. I just think he is a guy that still... you just get the ball in his hands and let him go. And I have critiqued guys like that in the past, but he is absolutely one of those guys who can be effective in that route, in that role. And on the BC side, like there isn't a whole lot. Like this off, like Vernon Adams is still really good. They have Hollins, who is a factor. They have McInnes, who is excellent as well. I would like a little bit more from this defense, but they're a very good football team. That is going to do it for the CFL side. We're going to get into CFL power rankings coming up tomorrow.